It's approaching exam season, and many of you will be worried about whether or not you're going to finish your history exam paper, or all three of your history exam papers. I don't feel like I particularly need to explain why it's important to finish your exam papers. If you don't finish, there's marks that you could have got that you didn't get, which is not very good for your overall grade. So it's very important to finish your exam paper. Now, unfortunately, finishing your exam paper is a lot easier said than done, because the people who write the exam papers don't particularly like to be very nice. 1.5 minutes per mark is the general guide that you get, and that's really not that long when you have several pages to write. I think it's about 6 or 7 pages that you amass in the end. Possibly more. I don't know. Tell me if I'm wrong. And also, many of you will have found that in your mocks and in recent mocks and other papers that you've done in the run-up to the exams, you're not finishing, which at this stage is probably quite a worry. Now, I did my mocks back in November of last year because I took my GCSEs last year, but in the November, I didn't finish my history paper. We only did one paper. We did the crime and punishment paper, so paper 1, and I didn't finish it. And I was very annoyed with myself because I was 3 marks off an 8 when I got the paper back, and there was a whole question that I hadn't answered, and if I'd answered that question, I probably would have got the 8, but I ran out of time. However, by the time it got round to the final exam, I did finish the paper. In fact, I finished all 3 papers. The last one, I had like a whole 10 minutes to spare when I finished, so that was finishing. And I'm sure you're wondering, what did I do? And I'm going to answer that question for you. So after I'd been disappointed by my result in the mock, I came up with a master plan, because I realised the thing that particularly was holding me back was the fact I hadn't finished the exam paper. So I needed to work out how was I going to finish the exam paper in the actual thing, because I had a 9 to get in my history GCSE. And the master plan that I came up with went like this. Step 1. I seem to really like having steps in these videos. Step 1 was learning the content really well. Like, not just learning the content, but learning the content. Like, I was able to shoot out facts like a fact volcano. Have you not come across many fact volcanoes? Well, I was a fact volcano at the time. Shooting out all those facts. Facts. So learning the content inside out is very useful because it cuts down the thinking time. And obviously it's quite difficult to make yourself write faster, so in terms of actually being able to finish the exam, the thing that you want to cut down is the amount of time that you spend thinking. However, learning the content inside out does require a bit of work. So what I'd recommend you do is you should go and watch my How to Revise GCSE History video. In there, I recommend flashcards because I'm a flashcard addict. Like last year I was a one-man, I mean I'm not a man, but basically a one-man flashcard factory. And I still am this year. So by learning the content inside out and specifically learning the facts and having just loads of random facts, because the papers just require you to have strange random facts. Spend information. By learning that, you're cutting down the thinking time. Because when you see the question on the paper and it's like, French occupation of the Ruhr, you have all these just crazy facts about the French occupation of the Ruhr, like 1923, and all that, probably a bit more detailed than just 1923. You just want to be a fact volcano. The next step, step 2, which doesn't actually have to come after step 1, they can happen simultaneously, is structures and practice exam questions. You need to have good structures for your exam questions so that when you go to write down the exam question, you already basically know the first sentence that you're going to write, which gets you off to a good start, and then you can pretty easily know what the next question you're going to write is. And luckily, I've made some videos. I say some videos. I've made one, and there's going to be another one on how to answer exam questions. I'm doing one on a 12-mark explain question, which might come out before this video, so it might already be out, in which case it will be in the description. Or it might come out after this one, I haven't figured out what order. But as of filming, it hasn't come out. But yeah, so you need good structures, because structures mean that you don't have to spend time thinking about the structure if you already know the structure before you start writing the question, if that makes sense. And that will further shorten down the amount of time you spend thinking. Also, practice questions. Like, I'm sure you hate me for saying this, but the more times you write an answer to a question, the better you learn how to use the structure that you've got for the question. And also, just the more confident and comfortable you feel writing answers to the questions, so you'll be able to write the answers to the questions faster. Which is a win, because we're trying to write faster here. So step 3 is the magic miracle cure, because I feel like the last 2 steps were reasonably obvious, and I mean, you just kind of have to hone them down as best as you can to try and reduce the thinking time. But step 3 is the magic step. Woo! Magic. So what is this third magic step, I hear you ask? Well, it's a secret, and unfortunately I've run out of time in this bit. It's okay, I'll tell you what the third step is. It's on me. The third step is something you actually do in the exam hall. So it actually has to come after step 1 and step 2, because you can't do it until you actually have the exam paper in front of you. So you've walked into the exam hall and you're confident, you're walking like this really confidently because you've watched so many of my videos that you know exactly what you're doing. And you sit down and there's your exam paper in front of you, and then there's the head invigilator dude who's up the front, and they're like, "You can open your exam paper, your exam has begun." And then you open it up and you look in there and you see the first question, and you're going to read the first question, but you're not going to answer it. And then you're going to read the second question, but you're not going to answer it. You're going to turn the paper, and you're going to read the third one, and the fourth one, not answering either of those 2 either. And then the 5th one and the 6th one, because I'm pretty certain there are 6 questions. You're going to read those as well. And then you're going to look at the 6th one, because the 6th one, presumably, I think it's on all of the papers, is the biggest question. But whatever is the biggest question is the one you want to do this for. And I think on the crime and punishment paper, certainly there's a choice of 2 questions. And so in that case, you're going to read both of those choice of 2 questions. And this end question, the biggest question, is generally the one you want to answer first. There's one advantage of doing the paper not in the right order is you can't compare yourself to the people around you. So obviously you're not meant to look at other people's papers, but you're always aware when you just hear the flick of a piece of paper as someone turns next to you, and you know that they're 1 page ahead of you, even though you can't read their answer, you can see that they're on the next page and you're not. So you're going to do this end question, or the biggest question, first, and when there's a choice between 2 of them, you're going to look at the 2 questions and you're going to see they'll have 2 bullet points, and then you have to come up with a third one, and whichever one you can think of a third bullet point for first is going to be the one you're going to answer first. Now if you're looking at both of these questions and you're like, I just can't think of an answer, then move on to a different question. And the way you're going to move on to a question, likewise, once you finish that question, you're going to move on to another one, is you're going to find the next question. You'll have taken note of which questions are in the paper. The next question that you can already think of an answer to. So they'll often be you need to come up with an idea for a third paragraph, or sometimes you need to come up with an idea for the whole thing. So the next question that you can come up with an idea for, and you'll skip over to that question, and in the back of your mind you'll be working out answers for other questions. And this will mean that you won't have that period of time where you're just staring blankly at a page going, I don't know what I'm doing, I can't think of an answer. And it will cut down that thinking time, which, as you know, thinking time is time lost. So we cut down the thinking time by flicking through. And sometimes, near at the end, you'll probably get to a point where you're like, can't think of an answer, can't think of another idea. Say you have something like an explain question with 12 marks and you'll have 2 bullet points. Just write the first 2 paragraphs and then come back to it and think of a third paragraph. You don't even have to do the whole question at once. Just do whatever you can think of an answer to first, and then flick through to another question and do what you can think of an answer to. And that should cut down the thinking time massively, and I think that is the main thing which allowed me to finish the paper on all 3 of my history papers, and hopefully it will work for you. So that is the third magic step. You're welcome. So there you have it. That's my advice on how to not run out of time in your history exam. If anyone else has any advice, because you're watching the video and you've managed to not run out of time, leave it down in the comments. If you have any questions, leave those down in the comments. If you want to say something nice, leave that in the comments. If you want to say something not nice, please don't leave that in the comments. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell all your friends, because I'm sure they'll find this useful, hopefully. Fingers crossed. Oh, I crossed my arms as well. Also, don't forget to check out some of my other social media. I don't just have a YouTube channel, I also have Twitter, @alongtimeago_YT, where you can just hear the random wafflings from my brain, and in that long period between me releasing a video and me releasing another video, you'll see that I am still alive. Also, you can find me on Instagram, and that is @alongtimeago, I think. If that's... You'd think I'd know my Instagram handle. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in another video. I mean, more you'll see me because I'm just staring at a camera right now. But you'll see me next time I release a video. Probably in 2020. Wesad Yay Holla. I'm such an idiot.